You know, some projects just soar to success, while others crash and burn spectacularly. But what's the real difference? Is it the plan, the software, or something else entirely? We're going to get into it.
Okay, just look at this contrast. On one hand, you've got the Shah Alam Medical Center, a total textbook success story. And then you've got the Channel Tunnel, the Chunnel. I mean, yeah, it was this incredible engineering feat, but from a project management view, it was an absolute nightmare, bleeding money and finishing a whopping 80% over budget.
So what is it? What's the secret sauce? Is it about having the perfect plan, the most detailed charts, and all the right software? Or is it something more human, something that you just can't track on a spreadsheet? That is the big question we're going to unpack right now.
Well, to stop disasters like the Chunnel from ever happening again, a whole toolkit was developed. The goal was to bring some serious order to the chaos and, try to turn the art of management into more of a science.
And the idea behind it is pretty simple, right? You take a massive, complicated project, you break it down into smaller, manageable pieces, you track everything objectively, and you spot the big risks before they turn into full-blown catastrophes. You tame the chaos.
Everything kicks off with a feasibility study. Think of this like getting a home inspection before you buy a house. You want to know if there are any hidden, deal-breaking problems before you sink a massive amount of time and money into it.
Okay, so you've decided to build the house. Now you need a blueprint. That's basically the critical path method. It shows you which tasks are like the load-bearing walls of your project. The ones that, if they get delayed, could bring the whole thing crashing down.
Now, see that line highlighted there? That's your critical path. Everything else? It's got a little bit of slack, some wiggle room. But anything on that main line, if it's late by even 1 day, your entire project is officially 1 day late. No joke. It's that unforgiving. So you've got your plan. But how do you know if you're actually sticking to it? Well, you can think of earned value analysis as a kind of financial EKG for your project's health. It's not just about how much money you've spent, it's about what you've actually gotten for that money. Are you getting the results you paid for on the schedule you planned?
And this shows you exactly how powerful it is. For the Shah Alam project, look at those positive numbers. Everything's healthy, right on track. For the channel? Whoa, those numbers are a 5-alarm fire. The tool was practically screaming that the project was hemorrhaging cash and falling completely off the rails.
So these tools, they seem like a totally foolproof system, right? Well, let's see what happens when theory smacks right into reality in a super high-stakes project. Let's talk about a company called Teradyne and their Jaguar project. Their goal was to build this thing, the Ultra Flex. It was a revolutionary new semiconductor tester. And this wasn't just another product line for them. Oh no, this was a bet-the-whole-farm kind of move, designed to dominate their market for the next decade. The stakes? They could not have been higher.
And the challenge here wasn't just technical, it was intensely human. They had to merge two rival engineering teams from opposite coasts, each with its own culture, its own way of doing things, and, let's be honest, its own ego.
The project leader, a guy named Jack O'Brien, was a huge believer in these tools. For him, they were a way to force discipline, as he put it, and to get to the cold, hard, objective truth of where things stood. But right away, you see the tension. The system architect, George Connor, saw a huge risk. He worried that people would get so bogged down in managing the tools that they'd forget to actually talk to each other and ask the really important questions. And that's the central conflict, isn't it? Process versus people. So for a while, things were actually humming along pretty well, at least on the hardware side. But the software team, they were really struggling to keep pace. And then a single phone call came in that basically threw a grenade into the entire plan. As you can see here, software was already a bit of a sore spot. Then, bam, September 2003, a massive customer, Alphatech, shows up with a gigantic order and a nearly impossible deadline. There was no way Teradyne could say no. The pressure on the team went from high to just unbearable, almost overnight. This quote from the software team lead, Paul Rausch, is just, wow. It's so brutally honest. See, under all that pressure, the team fell into a classic human trap. They started believing what they wanted to believe, not what the data was screaming at them.
And here it is. This is the smoking gun. That top line is the plan. The bottom lines? That's reality. The software team was delivering about half of what they promised, month after month. The tool wasn't just whispering there was a problem, it was waving a giant red flag, and the team just chose to look the other way. So, what's the final call on Project Jaguar? Was it a brilliant success or was it a total catastrophe? Well, the answer is kind of complicated, and it might surprise you.
I mean, on the one hand, they landed the whale. They got that huge contract that secured the company's future. But that win came at a brutal cost. They were 35% over budget, full production was pushed back by 6 months, and the software team was completely fried from all the constant firefighting.
In the end, even Jack O'Brien, the guy who loved the process, had this moment of clarity. His point is so crucial. The tools actually did their job perfectly. The data was there, plain as day. The failure was human. And that's a lesson that applies to pretty much any project anywhere.
Which brings us all the way back to that core question. How do we balance the cold, hard data from our tools with the messy, unpredictable, and sometimes irrational reality of human beings under extreme pressure?
One executive on the Jaguar project really nailed it with this quote. He said the opposite, of course, isn't true at all. You can have the greatest processes in the world, but with incapable people, absolutely nothing gets done. It really seems the tools are only as good as the team using them. And maybe, just maybe, the most important tool of all is having the courage to face the truth, especially when it's the last thing you want to hear.